Hello guys and gals, me Mudahar, and boy, we got a serious video to make. Ladies and gentlemen, I am from Canada, as you all may have known, okay? Some of you guys might be like, whoa, are you really from Canada? Yes, I am. I'm a resident of Toronto, Canada. I love this place. It is my country. Canada is known for a lot of awesome things, like maple syrup, for instance, okay? It's known for being, well, I shouldn't even say being that great at hockey, to be honest with you. The Leafs kind of make me sad. But ladies and gentlemen, we're also known for having a prime minister that once did blackface. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and you know what? To be politically neutral, we also one time had a crackhead running Toronto. Yes. There it is. I've checked off everything. Now to start off with, I'm just going to state for the record, I am not making this a political video. I don't really like to discuss politics. I think politics is an incredibly divisive thing at the moment. And as somebody, I will gladly admit that I am not an intellectual person when it comes to politics. I don't really like discussing it. My philosophy in life is live and let live. If somebody isn't harming you, let them enjoy and live their life, okay? I tend to stick to myself and my local community, and I call it a day, okay? I know that a lot of my people watching this channel are probably people that have left-wing beliefs, right-wing beliefs, and frankly, I just don't really bother getting into it because it's not a focus point on my channel. I don't give a fuck about that, okay? I talk about viruses, stupid, goofy shit on the internet, and sometimes I come across a weird rabbit hole. But the only time I'm going to get political, roughly, is today. Now, a couple weeks ago, we talked about a bill in Canada that actually was threatening of passing, okay? A bill known as C-11. One bill that allowed the Canadian government to have further regulations on online platforms like YouTube, like Netflix, like Spotify. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Canada, or rather the Canadian government, wants to further regulate these new platforms, okay? Now, at the time, we talked about CanCon, okay? Canada's idea of, hey, let's try to push Canadian content in the world of it being absolutely destroyed by content from everywhere. Now, of course, I just want to start off by saying that, yes, this bill seems to have went through a round. Currently, it is facing discussion in the Senate sometime in the fall. There's been a few things like Canada passes bill to compel local content on streaming platforms. This is from Reuters, and what they've said is Canada's lower house of parliament passed legislation on Tuesday that could bring online streaming platforms under the stewardship of the country's broadcast regulators and compels firms like Netflix, YouTube, and Spotify to offer more local content that is CanCon, right? Basically, they want to promote Canadians to other Canadians in their land, okay? And possibly to the rest of the world. Meaning that if you're in Canada, what the government wants to do is have algorithmic control. Obviously, the Canadian government knows that it can't control the internet. That's stupid. The internet is an international tool with servers hosted all over. But of course, if a service is hosting itself in Canada, what Canada wants to do is regulate the algorithm itself to help promote Canadian content. The problem with promoting CanCon is to even meet the guidelines of your content being Canadian enough, you have to actually have the whole setting in place. Guess who has it in place? The old farts at legacy media, okay? Rogers, Bell, Shaw, TELUS, all those old goddamn fossils. Yeah, they've got the features right there. What about your favorite content creator that's on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch? Can they prove they're CanCon enough? No, not at the moment, all right? And if it is, very, very difficult for the average Andy to do it, okay? It's not something that's going to come through very easily. Now, of course, the actual government brought into it, it actually cleared the House of Commons in Canada by a vote of 208 to 117. And it got supported from the NDP party and the Blue Québécois. Now, you might be like, but Muda, maybe you should vote. Look, whoever I vote for, and trust me, at this point, I'm voting Green Party as always, as I usually do, because every other party in Canada is a giant shit show. Like politics everywhere else in the world. No matter who you vote for, the politicians in power, they only show their face when the votes have to come in. After that, they don't respond to a goddamn email. They give no shit about anything. No matter who I vote for, and trust me, I try using my every power that I have. Never works. I tried to email every MP that I possibly could. And you know what? Didn't matter. If you're Canadian watching this video, which not much of my channel are actually run by Canadians or like followed by Canadians in comparison to Americans and the people from the United Kingdom, write to your MP, okay? Write something, all right? Just tell them you don't want shit like this to go through. Anyways. So they say really nice platitudes like, this law would ensure that online services promote Canadian music and stories and support local jobs. Sounds all cute and everything. We all know it's about algorithmic control. We all know you want to control whatever narrative it is that you want. And the only way to do it is to make sure the legacy creators are still artificially pushed at the top versus the user-generated content creators, the amateur people that are now drawing in more viewership than the old media of yesterday. Now, there have been some titles on YouTube like, this bill could end YouTube, and I don't think it's going to end YouTube. YouTube is massive. It's going to hurt Canadian content creators. And to summarize it, the way that it does it is by having algorithmic control. If the requirement to having content be Canadian enough bleeds into actually putting in people who produce user-generated content, like people like me, or people like Linus Tech Tips, for instance, and you're competing us with big media groups that already have the CanCon, situation in place, this is where it gets kind of bad, okay? Ignoring just the big media for 1 second. If you're a Canadian content creator, right, and you're making tech videos, right? Let's say there's a video on the Steam Deck, right? Like they're making a video on like, hey, the Steam Deck is an amazing product. Now, 2 creators make this video, okay? Marquise Brownlee and Linus Tech Tips. Now, YouTube's algorithm works in such a way that it's going to give you the creator you're more likely to click on, okay? So if you're somebody that would watch a Marquise Brownlee video, YouTube 9 times out of 10 is going to recommend you Marquise Brownlee. Vice versa for Linus Tech Tips. It's why their channels are so popular, and it's why their channels work for their audiences. YouTube knows most of the time how to pair a certain user with the audience, okay? That's because YouTube and Google have tons of browsing data to, algorithmically fit you on. Now, the way that this algorithm works is all of a sudden to Canadian creators, what's going to happen for people like me living in Canada is when I look up Steam Deck, I'm not going to really see Marquise Brownlee. I'm going to be seeing Linus first. Now, I might not want to watch Linus's video. I might want to watch Marquise's video. So I then click on Marquise Brownlee's video. Now, because YouTube is advertising me Linus's video and I'm not watching it, YouTube is going to think, oh shit, maybe Linus has fallen off. Not even true whatsoever. I'm just not the right fit for that group. So then YouTube punishes Linus because Linus isn't performing so well in the algorithm. That's a rough way how this would work on YouTube, from what I understand and from what I've been told. Now, of course, different things could exist for TikTok, Twitch, or various other social media platforms. What I find really fucked about this situation is that apparently they had 150 amendments to this bill. And apparently it seems like it was just jam-packed through without even really considering all the aspects of such a massive, large bill. It's to the point where, shout out to the Green Party, they're the only ones that actually wanted to push and clarify, especially leaving out user-generated content. The Green MP, Mike Morris, who tabled an amendment to clarify that user-generated content such as amateur videos, sounds like a porn site, posted on YouTube would not be affected by the bill, said he was disappointed that the committee ran out of time to properly discuss it and other clauses. His amendment did not get government support. The guy literally, if you just took his amendment, if you just took it, this whole thing wouldn't be that big of a deal. We understand regulation exists. YouTube even concedes that professional videos, produced videos by the platform have to be put under some scrutiny. We understand. Netflix understands. User-generated content has always been the reason why Bill C-10 and a lot of these other bills didn't pass. They're specifically trying to ignore any idea. They're putting the fucking blinders on so they don't have to actually acknowledge this. Clearly, it's a way for some vague level of control. When you have vague elements of the law that don't specifically isolate the user-generated content, they don't specifically isolate, the vagueness is the bad part, okay? Any vague law that exists, any law that allows a government to do something that you don't want it to do is a dangerous law, okay? I'm not going to jump into the hyperbolics of our internet's going to be like Iran or China, where like at any moment the government can ban us from Twitter or any social media because of user safety, but leaving things vague, leaving the algorithm up to control, not specifically isolating the user-generated content, the person that makes videos, makes content and uploads them to various platforms, is a dangerous precedent indeed. And I'm sure anybody, regardless of your political affiliation, can at least admit that the vagueness that I've just mentioned is a bad thing all around. Look, I'm a little blown away that something like this could pass, and if I sound really emotionally charged, it's because I am. Look, I love my country. I love Canada. And you know what? The current government is kind of just terrible right now at it, okay? They're not the government for the people. And to be fair with you, I've lived long enough to know that most governments are not for the people. But in this case, being a patriotic Canadian, I understand that my country has its benefits, it has its failures. This is definitely something that I'm tabling as a failure. Now, would I leave Canada over this? To be honest, this is not my job, but I also don't want to see my channel be affected because of some arbitrary law that favors fucking relic-ass companies. So I can, thankfully, I can afford to go and live out in Texas or something and sort of move the entire channel and everything over there. But, giving up and leaving should never be an option, okay? So I'm going to leave it on this, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, if you're Canadian watching this video, write to your MP, okay? And remember, this bill has not passed yet, okay? It's going through, it's being jammed through. But thankfully, the Senate, which I believe is controlled by the Conservative Party of Canada, which is the opposite of the Liberals right now, obviously just by sheer, just by sheer differences in political nature, they're not going to be the ones that are really going to be pushing this through. To understand, though, whether the Conservatives or Liberals would have pushed this law through, both parties would have been completely in the wrong. Thankfully, in this case, because of there being a sort of division between like certain sects of Canadian politics, this is going to be further scrutinized just by that alone. And scrutiny it definitely needs. I'm not against the idea of there being like updated regulations, especially in the world of, film and television, but user-generated content and the ability for us to freely use our internet should absolutely be kept for the person. It's the last actual freedom that we as human beings have. When a government takes away your last internet rights, the last bastion of true freedom, that's when things get fucking scary. So you know what? I'm 100% on YouTube side. I'm on any social media side, but I think the slap on the wrist can also go to YouTube as well too, and really TikTok and all these social media services. Sending your creators to talk to Parliament won't really do as much as you actually going out of your way to potentially influence the politics by way of paying for certain people or, affecting the politics at a corporate level for you to actually help fight back. At this point, it's big old-time legacy TV versus new age digital media. And at this point, the fight needs to be between them, and the creators really don't have much that they can do other than raise this kind of awareness, and that's pretty much where it ends. Ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mudahar, and the fight is not yet over. It's not, and I'm watching this shit real carefully. Let's hope to God that the Senate doesn't make it go through. Because if it does, that's a sad day for good old Canada, and I love Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mudahar, and I'm out.